red being not achieved, where achievement is below 75%. Slide 6 is basically the summary in terms of program status. So I have alluded to programs 1, 2, 3, and 4 with our total annual targets. So in terms of program 1, we had 6 planned indicators for achievement. 5 were achieved, 1 was not achieved, giving us 83% in program 1. I will go into more details when I get to the specific program slides. Program 2 had 4 planned indicators for achievement. All 4 were achieved, 100%. Program 3, 4 planned indicators. 4 indicators were achieved, 100% again. Program 4, 3 indicators planned, 3 indicators achieved, reaching 100% again.
Yes. Unfortunately, I'm just my sure that's and on the right steps. That's one that's there. Number 5. Then I get
achieved, reaching 100% again.
We do not have the quotas to post on the board. Yes, the online one, the one documents, we didn't split that. We only did quota career reports of them. So hence I'm struggling.
On this side,
Achieved, reaching 100%
We only had,
again.
it is for that we do not have the quotas to post. There is the so-called online one, the one that had complaints, we didn't split that. The only thing for the one is from your budget, we didn't receive them. Why I'm going to the
copy now. On this side, the email.
Reaching
It's not
100%
complete.
We only had,
again.
it is for that we do not have the quotas to post. There is the so-called online one, once we receive quota 2, to receive quota 3. For us, as per our image with
The team and insists to call it.
this is only the analysis.
คนอะไรgraduator
I'm into the city chair.
Asal project there.
This is the last night and not question.
Inazo Tuesday figure. This is a real spy on the next one. Yeah, so I'm not working. But I'm la peine pour see right. I'm in trouble now. I think that I'm getting I don't yeah, no, of course.
It's what you are the same.
Loading. My problem that most members can't follow through to the I budget the comment. The right and it's a corner of the community. Why would the pocket of food bouquet when they are what is the one that thing now? Okay, so much about the drinks. I think he's projecting now.
Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. If we can go to slide 6. Where I had left off on slide 6 was on the summary of the Q2 program status, which tabulates our achievements per program and the planned indicators for the quarter. So in terms of program 1, we had 6 planned indicators. Of the 6, 5 were achieved, 1 was not achieved. So overall performance in the program was at 83%. Program 2, which is our comprehensive capacity building program, we had 4 planned indicators. Those 4 indicators were achieved, so there was 100% achievement. In program 3, which is enterprise and value chain development, we had 4 planned indicators. 4 indicators were achieved, 100% achievement. Then program 4, we had 3 planned indicators. 3 indicators were achieved at 100%. So overall, there were 17 planned indicators. 16 were achieved. Only one indicator was not achieved during Q2. So overall performance for the ADA was at 94%. Moving on to slide 7, in terms of program 1, which is finance and administration. Noting that we had 100% achievement, I just wanted to reflect on the first indicator, which is not the first indicator, but the second indicator, which is percentage of suppliers' valid invoices paid within 30 days. The annual target there is 100% with quarterly targets of 100%. If you'll recall, in Q1, we had an underachievement, but due to corrective action taking and ongoing monitoring by the unit, we have ensured that they achieved 100% in Q2, and that has been the trend throughout. However, this particular indicator will not be achieved at annual reporting. So I just wanted to reflect on that. Indicator 3 is an annual indicator that will only be achieved in Q4. Indicator 4 that was achieved, that is in terms of the number of annual strategic documents produced on planning, and that was in relation to the annual report for 2021-22, which was produced, approved, and submitted as per the compliance deadlines and the tabling. Moving on to slide 8. Slide 8 is reflecting on the indicators for related to internal audit. We had 100% achievement in terms of the 4 audits planned. These were in line with the review of the draft annual report, human resource management, AG follow-up for the quarter, as well as the Q1 performance information, which were completed as planned. The indicator that was not achieved, it was indicator number 6, which is in relation to the percentage of actions completed in line with the approved risk management implementation plan. We had a planned target of 100%. We were only able to achieve 33%. And the reason for the non-achievement was due to the external factors related to 2 of the action items where it required the internal approval processes as well as the sitting of the board at the time to allow approval on these particular action items in terms of the fraud prevention and anti-corruption policy, as well as the risk appetite and tolerance framework. To appraise the committee, these have since been undertaken and approved and will be reflected in the overall annual reporting. And then in terms of the last indicator for program 1, that is the number of partnerships established to support agribusiness. We had a target in Q2 of 1. However, we were able to achieve 2. These partnerships were namely with Amajuba TVET and ADA, as well as Richards Bay Industrial Development Zone, together with the ADA. So those were concluded within the quarter, of course, 1 being reported earlier than anticipated. Moving on to program 2, all the indicators were achieved for the quarter. Noting that the targets was exceeded due to earlier training sessions being facilitated earlier than anticipated. I will give an example in this regard. So in terms of the plans that we have in terms of trainings, there are different training sessions. So you'd have maybe beef production, and we would set out to have session 1 and session 2, spreading them out based on the demands that would come through to the ADA. So given the appointment of the service provider, it was found that it would have been more optimal to carry out both training sessions for beef production within the quarter instead of spreading it out. So it allowed us that opportunity to do that. So hence the targets being exceeded in this particular regard, and of course increased demand for training, not just for our projects that we are supporting, but any prospective clients that just require soft skills to enhance their agribusiness enterprise operations and just to enhance that. Moving on to program 3, which is on slide 10. This is where the bulk of our support lies for our enterprises in terms of market access, which is mainly around the product testing. In terms of product testing, we had a quota to target there of 10, and we're able to support 10 enterprises. So the product testing will be either microbial testing or shelf life testing that is conducted, and that allows our agro-processors to participate within the greater value chain, and to also eliminate any aspects that would have, should I say, precluded them from actually participating within the market. So we're actually unlocking opportunities for them, because it can be costly for them to undertake the product testing themselves. In terms of youth, we were able to achieve 5. That was due to an enterprise being supported earlier than anticipated. And women enterprises were supported within the agribusinesses. We had a target of 6, all 6 were achieved. The last 2 indicators, those have further annual targets that will be achieved during Q4. Moving on to slide 11, which is program 4, infrastructure development, 100% achievement. All indicators were achieved, with an overachievement in indicator number 2, which is the number of enterprises supported with infrastructure planning. We had a planned target of 2. We were able to achieve 4. And again, if you recall the discussion around the enterprises that were affected by floods, there were additional 2 enterprises that were assisted with infrastructure assessments, just so that we could undertake reprioritization of budget to support those particular projects. And then just summarizing on slide 12, it was just noting that as the ADA, we continue to monitor and track our performance, and then implementing the requirements in terms of the directive for the entities to be reporting on the DPM&E EQPR system, which has come into effect for all entities for this current financial year. And of course, I've spoken to the floods and the interventions that ADA had undertaken, and the plans for Q3 to undertake the midterm review and strategic planning session. Honorable Chairperson, I therefore present the ADA Q2 performance report for consideration of the committee.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rich. Colleagues, can I request that the MEC is about to leave now? Since he has just walked in, it would be inhumane of the committee, given the fact that it is very first meeting to the portfolio committee, even though we have gone past his time to speak. So I think it's only fair that we just give him an opportunity to greet us and make some few remarks. MSC, we have agreed that the draft APP and budget 23-24 will be tabled. We are not going to approve it. I think the officials are going to brief you further about our decision. We will communicate by the end of the day today. Probably tomorrow at 6 o'clock, we will have a special virtual meeting to go through the APP and the draft final budget so that we approve it. So I'm just making it so that you understand that the committee has taken decisions. Not because CLC is but you'll be part of us. You've been part, in fact, you've been a serious proponent of this matter, to say this thing of being given slides when the comprehensive report is not before us is unfair. And now you are at the helm, and we hope that because you've been part of us, you understand. And I then give you an opportunity just to make your remarks.
That's right.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Hello, Chairperson, honorable members. The Chairperson of the one management led by acting authority, management led by CEO, officials, legislature. We really appreciate opportunity, Chair, according to us, appear for this comment. As you have already said, the 900 Hamas who are visiting Abengali. So, thank you. I think last week we had an opportunity, this department, to present ourselves before the finance committee. We were able to present the budget, the department. Again, we are here today as a department, subjecting ourselves to the accountability, the scrutiny of this committee. We need, that's what we wanted to see, where they are, how we are here to assist us. We are here to present our performance and the budget expenditure to the committee as part of the obligation that the committee has the oversight over us. As we begin this particular term under my leadership, Chairperson, I wish to invite the cooperation and the partnership of this committee. I want to assure members of this committee that we will continue to subject ourselves to you, be guided by you. We really alive of the issues that we have been raising as this committee, and we commit ourselves and undertake to commit in this management work towards addressing those issues that we have been raising, which are aimed to improve the pace of sex delivery. Just to indicate, Chairperson, that as we are toward the conclusion of the current financial year, we are monitoring our performance in terms of the budget, because we don't want understanding. And indeed, we want to commit that there will be no underspending in the department. Chairperson, we are here together with our entity. And as you can see, there's Chairperson of the board, whom we respect so much, and we know, all know that we members of that, bringing a very vast experience to that the entity. We want to commit ourselves to deal with some challenges. You know that there are serious challenges. Already we have raised some issues with regards to India. We are working together with the entity, and we want to appreciate the cooperation of the entity and the manner in which we are dealing is there. We think we'll be able to address all the issues that seems to be a challenge in that particular entity. We are also happy that the board of ADA, together with executive management and our senior
managers or senior management were able to be part of our strategic planning session earlier this month, which was held at 2. We spent 3 days, Chairperson, developing our plans for our next financial year. We think we were able to be very robust in terms of dealing with it. Therefore, the plans that we presented to you today, as we said, we'll have to table them. I think we'll get an opportunity to engage on them tomorrow. A product that engagement and similar engagement that we'll have in terms of our consultation with our stakeholders, including the provincial cultural indaba that was held at Mandiri, which was also attended by Amakosi. It was well attended. We think, Honorable Chairperson, the year 2023-2024 critical year for 6 administration, particularly because our people will be expecting an account for the entire term of government since 2019. It is for this reason that I've repeatedly emphasized the point in the department that it needs to improve its efficiency. We need to improve on our efficiency, and we need to be in the tempo in delivery of the services to our people. Our services will also be modified to focus more on saving vulnerable households, as there are many at the receiving end in terms of the challenges that we're facing as a country, as a province, that of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. We'll intensify our outreach programs, not only engaging the farming community, but practically rendering services to our people. We want the people of KwaZulu-Natal to see their government in their communities responding to the daily needs of the people, especially on matters of even the higher of poverty. And we want to invite members of the community to join the department in the outreach service delivery initiatives. We should be very want to focus on that particular issue, but not just to invite you, but to participate on these programs. And we hope we will have some time to be with us on those programs. You know that whilst we're doing that, we'll be doing the oversight level. So there are issues that you need to raise as the committee. As I've said, and you have already mentioned that actually I'll be excusing myself from this meeting for Chairperson. Allow me to stop there with those few words. Say we are here as part of the family. You further into you will further and you understand that we are correcting something that is wrong. Thank you very much.
Madam Sebonga, Spanwa, MEC for Agriculture. I hope that when we get another opportunity, you will appraise the committee about the situation in relation to the issue of the displaced HOD and the acting HOD. What is happening? When are we going to get a person fully in charge? Because this thing of acting, this and acting, that sometimes makes people hesitate to take decisions because they are not certain of their future. Also clarify with us, together with the chair of ADA, have they concluded the issue of the CEO of the entity? If not, why not? And when to expect that? So that we have a stable government that is accountable fully for the resources that we approve, because at the end of the day, we approve these resources to be in the hands of people are at some point going to account. When they account to us, we by extension they account to the general members of the public. So, but anyway, thank you very much, MEC, for your remarks, and we wish you well. By the way, your new task, and it's not an easy task, and unfortunately, it's towards the tail end of the and somehow, but you'll be judged even if it was a month before the end of the term. You'll be judged on that month as to what happened. For you is to just to take the bait and run fast. We are surely, I can say on behalf of the committee, when we are invited to, not because we want to tailor the MEC, our job is not to accompany the MEC. But when we are invited to functions and occasions that are about accountability, we will certainly be available. I'm sure in terms of the separation of powers, ours is to hold the executive accountable. When you go to the public and you invite us, surely we will come. But don't expect us to support you in accounting. No, that one we are not going to do. When people give you a hiding, we will be on the side of the people. We'll always be on the side of the people. Because at the end, ours to hold the executive accountable. I think it's clear, honorable members. I will give you a chance to say a word or two before the MEC goes. Members, if there is any. Ngiyabonga kakhulu. Mangivume noGobi ujwayele ukuba yihlokana lebanyana. MEC, you are excused. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just to briefly comment on this topic, the delay was based on the dispute that arose, which the Office of the General did. Now, that matter has been finalized. Yesterday, I got a confirmation from the DG that the post will be advertised to next week. With the advert. Then on the issue of the CEO, they've advertised the post, they've shortlisted. They are now in the process of consulting with the NC as per the law. Okay, thank you.
Please ask the MEC when you see him that he makes himself available to expedite the matter. I think I would ask the chair of the committee to talk to the MEC as well to expedite the matter, because we really need that entity to be like a bullet to be straight. Because this thing of acting people, it makes them very reluctant to take decisions because they don't want to be held accountable for things that at some point others will account for. So we really appreciate even the update about the issue of the HOT. It's a very significant department. It doesn't require an acting someone. It needs someone with full authority to take decisions. Thank you very much for that, MEC. We really appreciate Siyabonga ukuthi certificate siyabonga noNoshe usubamba nendlela emhlophe. Sizwile kuthiwa uqashe nomkhumanisi wephalamende omusha nabasinazo ibani-ke kodwa ngizwile kuthiwa uManani. Nange uphuma ngomnyango ama-members kahle kahle because kuthiwa u-PLO uxhumanisa thina phela no-MEC. And the tendency ukuthi these colleagues don't get to be, I mean, introduced to us. It's wrong, to tell you the honest truth. Because at the end of the day, they are facilitating that good, relationship between the legislature and the MSA. So anyway, welcome, Mr. Manana. We are not your friends. We are a structure of the state. We hope to work well with you. Thank you very much, sir. Congratulations on your appointment. Thank you. Uyiphathe kahle ke ukuyeke lokho kade waziwa ngakho. Ngephansi zakho zolusha. Ngiyabonga. Thank you very much, colleagues. Let's proceed. Members, there is a submission that in view of anyway, even quarter 4 is coming to an end. Now we're still busy with quarter 2, quarter 3. Long on, and again, it's a matter of scheduling for our meetings, but it's a matter that you guys have nothing to do with. It's our problem, where sometimes we get dates and they get to be taken. As a result, it takes time for us to invite you to account. So we wish to request that we accept the quarter 2 budget and performance, as well as quarter 3 budget and performance for both the entity and the department, in view of the challenge that we are having of time. But anyway, we are dealing with something that we cannot change anymore. And even if we were to have serious issues, it will be pointed in Swanee, angazi ngesithiwa yini. Sebeyosho ke laba abafundi kakhulu okumbi abafunda kuma-matriculation schools. Honorable members, can I then get a moment, a seconder for the proposal? Colleagues, Honorable Mavibe, ngicela nibanikeze umbhobho okhuluma.
Second. We agree that we are accepting quarter 2 and quarter 2 reports vote budget. Although some sessions that will be, but we hope actually see quarter 4. Doesn't mean that just shying away. That's just in view of time that we are accepting these documents presented to us, taking into account the limitations that we have faced. Because some of the things that we will be asking, maybe if I have been reports with us, will be not raising those questions. So going forward, we will be having full reports so that we are capacitated, we have full information so that we engage with these reports as we go forward. Thanks, Chair. So we are accepting the reports.
Yes,
Without wasting time, I want to support second. Ngiyameseka uHlalwe
from quarter 2, quarter 3. Obviously, they will arise in quarter 4, but we'll be raising them so that they are attended to in the next calendar year. There are serious issues that I'm very much happy about. I must be honest, I'm unhappy, very much unhappy about. Because at the end of the day, here we're dealing with the public purse. Every cent that we spend must be put to the benefit of the public. And I think we are going towards 30 years of our democracy. You know, people who were born in 1994, many of them are married, they have kids, you know, these are adults. We can't be called a young democracy forever. We are maturing. And therefore, as we do things, we must actually indicate that we are maturing. You may not understand what I'm saying, but as we get an opportunity to engage, we will do so. Can I then request the HOD to table a draft APP and budget? I think you know how to do it. It's simple. I hereby table. HOD, please table it so that we then discuss it tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I, Lucy Sojamini, as the acting HOD for the department, hereby table to the Honorable Committee, Portfolio Committee of Agriculture, the budget for vote 3, which is 2.5 million rands. I hereby table 2.5 billion rands. 2.5 billion rands. I hereby table it to the members. And for program 1, this will mean that the budget will be 699.076 million, and for program 2, it's 1.753 billion, and for program 3, which is the rural development, it's 62.2 million rands.
Thank you very much, acting HOD. We'll bring to is called as the advertiser next week. To us, the advertiser, so can see eligible. I mean, mangas and fat in that way, because of trust and up. Thank you very much. Members, as per our decision, the draft APP and budget has been tabled. We will then go through the reports that have been circulated to us. Our legal advisor has advised the department on where to sign, because before we do it, there are areas that they need to sign, so that we don't discuss something that is not legally binding. There are areas that they need to sign. Then at 6 o'clock, we will be having a meeting to approve the draft APP and budget tomorrow at 6 in the evening. So we really appreciate your understanding, colleagues. Not ukuthi nithathe kabi ukuthi siyalwisa, but now we are trying to do our work according to the rules of the legislature. We will then quickly go to 2.4, Makatini Research Center update. Report quickly. It's for noting Nzoze's plan budget is already.
Greetings, Honorable Chair, members of the Portfolio Committee, and the Board Chair and HOD and Executive. I'll try to be brief. Chairperson, the report that I'm going to table is basically matters that were raised by the Portfolio Committee when they visited the Makatini irrigation scheme sometime last year. And it was also taken the decision that this particular item will be a standing item, just to provide an updated report. The third slide of my report is basically an overview of Makatini irrigation scheme, which is part of the total agricultural system, which consists of various subsystems in the local production level as well as at the regional level, which benefits the Mkhanyakude district and the province itself. The economic benefits of Makatini requires that all the stakeholders to share the common vision of the organization to be international recognized, striving, farmer-driven type of irrigation scheme. Chairperson, by taking over from Mjindi farming, they continue to support the farmers through the provision of the technical support as well as the water supply and infrastructure maintenance. On the slide number 4, Chair, there was a lot of infrastructure asset and operation that were raised by the committee, where they needed to basically know what is available in the irrigation scheme itself. We do have irrigation canal, which is about 32 kilometers, the pump stations, which are basically the ones that are providing water to farmers. And this pump station, they basically distribute water to the fields. And then we have different types of systems in terms of the irrigation, the sprinklers, as well as the center pivots and the flooding systems. There are also the infield roads, which about 100 kilometers of the infield roads that within the irrigation scheme. It is important to indicate that, Chairperson, some of this infrastructure or majority of this infrastructure that I've indicated is basically on the state land. However, there are portions of the infrastructure that is we do have, which were transferred by error. And as a department through basically ways of doing this on ground, and then other has been taking care in terms of the cost of operation and the maintenance of this infrastructure. I've alluded that some of this infrastructure includes, which are transferred by error, includes irrigation canal as well as balancing them and one of the pump station. This paved way for the issue that normally gets raised from time to time on slide number 5, the issue of the land claim. The land claims were settled in 2010 and 2015 by two local trusts, which is a Sloane Trust and Tenor Trust. The settlement includes the land and as well as the movable assets. Let me indicate that previously Mjindi used to have a power of attorney. So by withdrawing that, the settlement of the claim prevailed. Mjindi or others, we call it now, authority over the utilization of the land. This has hampered the optimum management of the land, production and the revenue collections and other irrigation system associated matters. Over time, this has become extremely difficult to formulate and enforce some of the irrigation rules that normally we do operate through on a day-to-day, such as fencing, canal, roads. In fact, that the community are vandalizing or the farmer, they're not taking the ownership of this, and as well as the bad practices and malpractices of bringing down the operations. Chairperson, it was also clarity was requested to understand what is the role of the trust on the irrigation scheme. Each and every trust, they do have their own constitution and they have their own plans in terms of how they want to manage the land. So in short, their role is basically to administrate the land and to ensure that it becomes productive for the benefit of the trust. The Sloane Trust claim covers about 2,400 hectares, while the Trust covers about 3,100 hectares. So both of these hectares that are claimed are within that land of 4,500 of the irrigation scheme itself. In terms of the operations, Chairperson, there was also some questions that were raised. Where do we get our water? We get our water from Jezuni Dam. This travels through the canal that I've indicated, and we pump water for 16 hours on a daily basis, starting 5 o'clock in the morning until up to 9 o'clock in the afternoon. Members, let me indicate that the age infrastructure has a negative impact on the water supply services for farmers. This has resulted in a frequent repairs that needs to be done from time to time, and also it affects the issue of the service delivery. There is a need for a major rehabilitation of the infrastructure, particularly on the pump stations that we have. Also, the issue of the technology, which has been on the pipeline for quite some time, that we need to automate our pump stations or the technology that we have so that we can be compatible and provide efficient and improve service delivery. However, it has been hampered with the funding because it cost us quite a lot of money to be able to achieve this. It has been estimated that between 1.2 and 1.5 billion rand it will be required to overhaul the entire infrastructure of the irrigation scheme so that the operation and the maintenance of it becomes to a level that we can say it becomes acceptable. This can only be done if we apply the technology for the available markets. On the slide number 7, Chairperson, the committee visited a number of pump stations. This is the heart of the irrigation scheme. Without the pump stations, we cannot operate. And this is normally what in terms of providing those water services. We are not where we want to be in terms of the performance at each and every pump station. As I indicated, we've got 6 different pump stations. So in total, we have about 64 pump sets. The operational ones are 29. We are sitting at 45%. The reason why of not being able to achieve is mainly the issue of the budget, because this equipment is quite expensive. But as well, in terms of the operation, as indicated, the infrastructure is very old. From time to time, we need to do the repairs, and then we are forced to stop the services in order for us to do the repairs. Load shedding has not also assisted us in any way. And then in terms of the action plan that we are aiming for, it's on slide number 8 for 2023-2024. We are aiming to improve on the revenue collection because mainly our budget for maintenance and repairs comes from the revenue that we collect from the farmers. So we will be embarking on getting an external service provider to assist us in terms of collecting revenue as much as possible. We are also looking at improving the maintenance on our site by getting assistance from the external service provider. We do have a team that deals with the maintenance, but due to a number of breakdowns that we've realized that we will require an assistant to get to a level where we want to be and improve service delivery and better our water efficiency. The Department of Agriculture also, it's, on slide number 9, is going to assist us. They have put some budget aside for 2023, 2024, and then 2024-25 financial year, where they indicated that through their revitalization program, they will be doing some projects. Some of this project is to complete the projects which were not really completed in the previous financial years. Subsurface drainage, I think CFO has already alluded to that, and the Block 15 drainage canal, as well as a rehabilitation of pumps. So those are the budget that has been allocated. So these activities will be running for 2 consecutive years. On the issue of the market and the skills transfer, we do have farmer development unit which provide services for optimal utilization to increase agricultural productivity, as well as part of the skills transfer to the farmers. There's been a lot of challenges in terms of this service when we are providing. The production has been very low. A lack of collaboration amongst the farmers is also one of the challenges that we are facing in the irrigation scheme. Uncoordinated some of support from different departments. It's also affecting the productivity on the ground. Farmer development, however, it does continues to facilitate the market opportunity on behalf of the farmers. We do have markets that are available for the sugar canes. We do have 3 different mills where the farmers are taking their sugar from. And then in terms of the vegetables, there are markets that are available at the Durban Fresh Produce vegetable markets, Ferry Holdings, and the retailer shops that are available in the area, and then as far as Pietermaritzburg. This is not enough, Chairperson, but we also still striving for a much better market accessibility for farmers. In terms of the challenge on slide number 11, one of the main drivers is revenue collection. Revenue collection is giving us a lot of headache because we are depending on it, as I've indicated. There has been a resolution that we are going to embark in collecting as much as possible from the farmers, especially those who are not paying for the services, as I've put it on the action plan. Theft and vandalism, the issue of the cables from the pump station. In the previous years, there has been a lot of a problem. But what we have done, we have intensified our security, have installed security cameras and solar spotlights in those areas or those pump stations which have been affected mainly by this vandalism. And there is another additional improvements of annual system that will be putting for the next financial year. The issue of the land ownership, as I indicated on slide number 12, this is affecting a lot of operational issues. I mean, the dispute between farmers and landowners. Some of farmers, they don't want to sign the lease. As a result, they don't also want to sign the water supply agreements that we normally have with the farmers, and it provides us a lot of challenges. The Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, they have acknowledged these challenges, and they are currently trying to resolve some of these land disputes in the areas where there's been an errors in the past. The issue of legal obstruction in terms of water, this one of the challenges that we are having from time to time. We have identified Mkhanyabude as one of the main stakeholders that are basically obstructing water without contributing any finance from on our side. And there was an engagement between the Board of ADA and as well as the mayor, the district, where we agreed that we'll have embankment agreement, and they will start compensating us for the water that they will utilize. I'll be addressing this at a later stage. And then
when you say Mkhanyabude, it's a municipality.
District municipality, yes. It's a responsibility of district municipality to provide water in Jorzini area as well as Mkhanyabude in general. Yes. On slide number 13, there were challenges also that which were raised. This from the farmer's side. There are quite an, I would say, few infrastructure or facilities that have been built by government on behalf of the farmers. These plans were done before land settlement was materialized. So unfortunately, some of this infrastructure, they caught in the act. For example, the input store is under Ntenga Trust. So when the land was transferred, the facility, because it's a fixed asset, it was also being transferred. So hence farmers were complaining that the infrastructure that has been built is not serving the purpose that it was intended to. What we have done, we have engaged with the trust as the custodian of the facility. They have indicated that they do have their own plans. Apparently, they are leasing the the structure to one of the local service provider where they are producing toilet paper. But the trust that they are also seeking funding in order to be able to utilize the structure for the benefit of Makatini, and they're estimating that they will require about 2 million or so. We are also assisting them trying to get this additional funding so that their infrastructure can be operational. The nursery and the pack house, which also was built by the department, even the input store was built by the department. The Department of Agriculture, they are running a mega nursery program where they are assisting local farmers in Mkanyagude in general. But the farmers of Makatini, I think there was some miscommunication in terms of how the program runs. But we have already sat down with a local office where they have alluded how are they going to be benefiting from the program and from time to time. So the engagement will continue as we move forward. So it's not going to be a last resort. Last year, December, we did have Department of Agriculture reform nationally. We had the Deputy Minister for the Trade, Industry and Competition pronounced that they can assist the farmers of Makatini in gaining market access and branding their produce. There has been a meeting with the Office of the Deputy and then the board, where we are currently in negotiations and see the best way of trying to assist farmers. In terms of the pack house it's in the operational state, so it's a matter of we're bringing in terms of the produce that comes from the farmers to assist in this value chain. The Slide 14, JVEC, it's a Jozini Value Aiding Center. This infrastructure was built by Copter, but also it was caught by the land claim issue, where it's under Silwane Trust. We have engaged with the Silwane Trust. They've already entered into an agreement with some of the service providers where they are intending to invest about 10 million rand for the produce of beans and maize. The group also further indicated that they want to invest in the maintenance of the infrastructure and development. The facilitation and the collaboration between the trust and the that group it's going very well. So we are also monitoring from time to time to assist farmers so that they don't rob farmers. I've alluded on the issue of the land. I'm not going to repeat it. The last matter, Chairperson, is the issue of the Kanyagut, the water supply agreement. MOU has been drafted and submitted to Kanyagut. Unfortunately, we are not receiving any joy from the municipal manager. They've been really darling in terms of giving us a signed agreement so that we can start formalizing our agreement as per the meeting that we had with a district mayor. So that will be the end of my presentation, Chairperson, and I will hear from the committee if ever there are any matters that we skipped. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. On the last slide, where you don't get any joy from the accounting officer of the district, probably through the board, can other consider to perhaps engage the MEC of Copter for assisting in that regard, because I think it's a very important matter to be left lying without any conclusions. If perhaps through the MEC of Agriculture, the matter can be escalated at that level so that the municipal manager concludes that MOU, because if they continuously use water without paying it, and I'm sure they are claiming money from their customers, I want to believe so. And at the end of the day, who is losing out? So Ada does have water rights for Josine. You do? Okay. Because nani ningatshontsha bese nabanye bayantshontsha. Bayantshontsha kumina nani bentshontshile from somewhere. As long as you have water rights use, that's fine. I want to suggest on behalf of the community that you consider escalating the matter to the level of Kota, so that Kota then, because they are the ones who keeps on saying to ordinary citizens that they must pay for their services. Government must also equally come into the party and sign those agreements for settlement of debts, as it were. Honorable members, there was a presentation here, and all of you on the virtual platform, you are also allowed to have a bite. Anyway, it's a presentation for noting, members. Honorable Mavibela. Hello, Shabin.
Thank you very much, Chair. We are noting the presentation as presented. I think as much as the Makatini is presenting that there is not finalized the MOU between themselves and the district in terms of the water rights and the likes. But I just want to have an understanding, because some of those canals were having illegal connections. Are you no longer affected by illegal connections of the communities around that particular area? Because it's neither the district nor the expense of the Makatini flats. Thanks, Chair.
Mamji.
Chair, greetings to all in terms of the presentation. On the issue of the canal, I recall that it was not clear who's supposed to maintain it. Is it now clear? In the issue of the pumps, there was a specific pump. I think it was 14, if I recall, because I recall the gentleman specifically saying 14 is not working for them. And then when we went there, we were promised that it is either anyone is going to be, or we considered also, you considered that you might change the copper, because a copper stud is the one that pulls the flies. So how far that has gone, and we have spoken about collection of revenue. Yes, some were not paying, and you have also stated that you have identified those. If possible, not today, would you please tell us in the next report how? Because those people have been there, but they were not paying. This time, how are you going to make them pay?
Okay. There was a proposition on the presentation that you are seeking something to that. As will it be funded to do so? In terms of the money that you pay the external service provider as compared to the money owed. If you do your comparisons or analysis, will it be worthy to do it rather than try on your own to. But I was also looking at the performance of the engine, what do you call them, pump stations. It's very concerning. I agree, they are old. If they are old, there is no money, then what? Because for me, that you are an extension of government. Government must provide solutions to challenges of people. It can't be a government that comes and cries and say, we are helpless. Then who is going to resolve the problem? They are old, agreed. Then what? Because you can't go to people and say, we can't provide the water because they are old. But the final one, the board has taken a decision to cut off water supply to the non-paying farmers. What would be the consequences of such a decision? Of cutting water, economically and social, in terms of social order within the community. Because as you may take a prudent decision, but what would be the consequences? Have you thought of that? Can you then please respond?
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. And I will try to attempt to answer most of the questions. I do have the team also here. On the issue of illegal connection, maybe let me elaborate further. We still have a challenge in terms of the community abstracting water. But if you look at the amount of water that we are using daily, vis-a-vis the amount that they are abstracting, it's very minimal. For example, Ijozeni area, they do have a challenge of domestic water. So the community, the only option that they have is the water that passes through their homestead, which is the canal. So why are we identifying the bulk water users or illegal abstractions? Is because they are abstracting a lot of water. They do have a purification plant. There are about 6 of them. And we have identified that they are abstracting over 1 million cubic meters of water annually. So that's a lot of water. So we'll get something out of them if we do so. But with the community, it's going to be very difficult to attend to that. But the challenge is still there.
What would be the estimate value of that 1 million cubic meters per year?
We estimated around 4 million rand of water that they are utilizing. But also it depends on their demand because this is only estimates. So they do have water meters. So on the agreement that we are embarking in, we have agreed that we'll be installing water meters. Once we install the meters, then we'll quantify exactly how much water is being utilized. But with the previous exercise that we have done, we have identified that it's over 1 million of a cubic meter of water, which it goes to in the region of 4 million rand. The cost that we are providing, we are not intending to make profit as such. We are charging them the same rate that we are paying a Department of Water and Sanitation. So that's where we are standing basically with Umkhanyakude. On the issue of the canal ownership, I think a member wanted to really go to the issue of the canal ownership. We have identified that the canal is owned by the state, except the portion that was transferred by ERA to the trust. However, it's not clear which department needs to take responsibility. But over the years, the Department of Agriculture, through Umjindi, now is ALA, have been taking care of the canal. We've been maintaining it, we've been repairing it. Hence, you've seen in some of the slides that we are presenting that the department is also assisting in terms of the bulk infrastructure projects. So that's a stand that we've been taking, that if we are not maintaining it as agriculture and other, we are not going to be able to provide water to farmers. The issue of ownership, it's a bit tricky because it goes back to the apartheid era. Initially, the Department of Water and Sanitation, or Department of Water Affairs then, they were responsible for taking care of the canal, the bulk infrastructure. But when the new government comes in, there was that miscommunication in terms of the asset transfer between the government and the new government. So now the issue of the asset register, it's something that we are with the department trying to resolve so that we know where we are standing. But with new developments, maybe let me indicate that the Department of Water and Sanitation, they are also embarking in taking over some of the bulk infrastructure in the country. And Makatini is one of those that have been earmarked. They have been visiting us, even though we have not received a formal communication. They are visiting us. They say they want to assess the infrastructure that is available. They want to take over. Then once they are ready, they will come to us, and then we start engaging, because this infrastructure is got financial implication. You've seen on the CFO slide that we are paying for water and electricity. So, and the revenue that we are collecting is not sufficient enough to cover those costs. So you can put it this way, that we are basically subsidizing farmers. So if the water and sanitation takes over, are they going to be in a position to do that? Or if we need to do other means of trying to assist farmers going forward? The issue of the pump station, I think honorable member wanted to reflect to 4 pump station. That pump station was a problematic one for us. We did indicate we do have 12 pump stations, pump set that are operating in that pump station. We did have challenges at that time. One challenge was that the issue of the theft that occurred, and then 2 pumps that were at a breakdown that needed to be repaired. What we have done, we have purchased 2 new pumps, and we also replaced the cable which were stolen. So now the status, it has improved since we have done this report. We are sitting around 8 pumps that are operating out of 12. With also assistance from the department, there is that a project of rehabilitation of pump station that is going to be running from next financial year, and then the following financial year. Will also be in a position to improve some of this pump house. The chairperson, we acknowledge the issue of that we are government, and we need to be in a position to assist farmers. But it's quite a lot of money that is required. They have indicated that it's between 1.2 and 1.5 billion rand. With the pump stations only, we are looking at close to 200 million. If you look at some of the programs that we need to run, to be able to overhaul this pump station and give new technology, and that 200 million rand is not something that we have like immediately. It's something that we need to put it as a long-term intervention. In terms of the service provider that we CEO wanted to take some of my answers.
I was caucusing, talking to my chairperson of the board, guiding us on how to respond to some of the issues. With your respect, Honorable Chairperson, I will take just one issue on the debt collector, but my chairperson will deal with the issue of disconnection of water, because the board platform to decide when to disconnect. This chairperson, this report has been tabled to the board recently. When we submitted, it is an original report, which is very raw. The board has guided us on the issue of the debt collection. As such, they made a decision that we must appoint internally a revenue manager to look at how we collect revenue. I can report with confidence, chairperson, honorable members, that's with for the new unit with a revenue manager who then been tasked to drive the revenue enhancements of other, including Makati, and other points of revenue points within the others function. With that respect, chairperson, I would like to hand over to the chairperson of the board to do the matter of disconnection.
So we're not on going the external service provider route.
Chair, I think that's the area which I wanted to just add value to and apologize that a report that does not seem to have been updated has been presented here and is likely to mislead. the committee. I sincerely apologize for that. As the CEO will say, it has recently been tabled at board with these proposals, and the board has directed that on the issue of debt collection, debt collection is a legal matter. It's guided by law, and therefore it's not just anybody and everybody that would be able to go and collect. And there was a thorough discussion, and the CEO and management at the board level indicated to us another approach that would be internal, including a unit led by a person who was identified and reported to the board as a potential person to lead that process of debt collection. And the instruction of the board was that that person must therefore be capacitated to the level of being a debt collector, because that is what is required when you are going to be collecting debt. So that to us was the decision of the board as far as I understand it. And I do apologize for the other mishap. On the issue of the water disconnections, again, it's a matter that has been thoroughly debated by the board, and the board has agreed on the process of engagement with farmers on debt collection. The principle that has been adopted by the board has been that we support the fact that there are farmers who may be able to pay. There are farmers who may not be able to pay, and therefore we cannot as yet say we will start with disconnections, but a process of engagements has to start with the farmers with a view that at some stage there may be a need for this. And it does not it does not concern the communities. What Tekiso has indicated in respect of the communities, that's a district matter. And that is where the installation of pumps can come in. And the district coming in and being part of the whole process of arranging how they are going to pay for water, that is not utilized by farmers. So ours is just targeted to dealing with farmers, and that matter of process towards with all the thorough assessment of which these farmers are able to pay, which are unable to pay. And it impacts as well on this issue of farmers and tenants. There is a comprehensive issue that will have to be discussed in totality. So as yet, there is no firm position on when to go for disconnections. That is what I wanted to straighten out as well. Only the engagements have been approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ndabezitha. I think in strengthening your capacity, you will consider as well. I think you don't have a head of legal as the entity or a board secretary. I'm not too sure where are you on that, so that there is clarity in terms of the capacity of the board legally approve decisions, because you can take decisions, but at the end of the day, if legalities are on the other side, then your decisions will be challenged.
No, Chair, I think we are on safer ground in that aspect. We do have a legal manager, a fully employed legal manager, I suppose, yeah, she was employed last year. She has gone through probation and now she is fully employed. But on the issue of the board secretary, maybe I confirm what the MEC was saying in respect of the CEO position. I confirm that we have had to re-advertise because of the lapse of time with consultations not concluding. And we have had to re-advertise. We have re-advertised. We have now applications, and that process of consultation is ongoing with the MEC. We are at least now confident that the process is going to go to finality. I'm talking about consultations because we're at a very advanced stage on consultations with the MEC. He has got all the information now. He has expressed his views on what he thinks needs to be done. And all that is now needed is for him to finally say, go ahead. These are my views on how we go ahead. And we hope that by next week, for instance, that will be concluded. The same thing has occurred on the issue of the board secretary. The process of appointing the board secretary has been concluded. It was concluded and an incumbent was appointed by the board. Immediately after that incumbent had been appointed, and that incumbent is a legally compliant incumbent who qualifies for the board position, for board secretary position. That, and it's an internal person, it's not a person from outside. Now, that person was then challenged through an anonymous, that process of appointment was challenged through an anonymous internet cafe complaint. That complaint has been addressed, and that matter should reach finality quite soon. Investigations have gone on, and they've indicated what exactly happened. So we are going to be clear quite soon, probably in the coming month, whether the appointed person stands or we have to nullify that process and start from scratch. But the incumbent was then appointed by the board, the appointed incumbent, because the position was now empty because the acting board secretary had also resigned. Now we were left with a vacant position. So the board, in its wisdom, decided to appoint the very person as an acting board secretary. So we've got a board secretary who is qualified, but who we just need to confirm whether the process continues or not. So there's a lot that has been done at that level, Chair. We just apologize, but when there are complaints, especially by those who complain from outside, who cannot even be identified, they have to be investigated, unfortunately. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. The report stand noted. Let's quickly go to the mechanization update. During that, I see the acting HOD.
Chair, we do have Chief Director Jongisa, Chair, who can be able to take us through the report. But I can equally just take the report, Chair, which is the reason to do. I take the report on mechanization. Thank you. Chair, if you look at the, that's why I intend to take it myself. It's for that reason, Chair. Chair, if you look at the presentation that was submitted, we've reflected, Chair, on our previous performance. of 2021-2022, just to give the committee an indication of how we had performed at the end of the financial year. We had achieved about 29,417 hectares, and this was against the target of 21,394. And for the current financial year, Chair, we had put ourselves a target of 22,310 and disaggregated per those districts, with the majority of hectares under Umzinyathi, Herikwala, as well as Zululand as the main areas for the maize planting season in the main. Chair, from slide 6 to slide 12, it's just a disaggregation of the targets at a local level throughout all the districts, so that the members have a full appreciation of the space or spatial representation in terms of the planting season, as it were. From slide number 12, Chair, it's where we are reflecting the beneficiaries and the commodities that we're focusing on, which is maize, beans, vegetables, and other commodities which could have included tamadumbe or soya beans in other areas. But the majority of the commodities that were planted were targeted was largely maize, and we're targeting to support 2,680 beneficiaries. In terms of our progress, Chair, if we move to slide number 18, Chair, which is now giving an account, because from the other slides we're just showing the actual budget in terms of the money that we had put aside, which we've now actually all expended. But from slide 18, it's just a special representation of areas that have been serviced. This is one area we do not have as an improvement in the current financial year, which is now starting to plot and map all the areas that we are servicing. Slide 19, Chair, we're now recording our performance to date, that we're sitting at 24,637 hectares that have been planted against the target of the 22,310. We have overachieved in terms of the target, Chair. And this, Chair, we've done it obviously with the partnership from community members, because we no longer provide in other areas the full complement of services given our budget limitations. In the past, we would do planting, plowing, fertilizer, chemicals, and all the other production inputs. But we have been in extensive consultations with farmers so that they bring some of the services themselves, and we are then focused on supporting the indigenous farmers with the full suite of services. And that's why we've been able to reach that target, Chair. In terms of the commodities that we have planted, Chair, 15,300 of that is maize, and the other commodities, dry beans at 3,600, and our vegetables at 2,000, Chair, and other commodities which we've also supported, it's at 3,500. But as I've indicated, bulk of it is around the maize production, Chair. We've also reflected, Chair, on slide number 21 on different operations that have been done by service providers in terms of where we are with that. And in 22, we've also reflected on the mechanization packages that we do have. We do have service providers which are providing the service. There are departmental tractors that we utilize. There are also communal estates which we support, which have equipment from government. And there's also farmers who own their own equipment, farmers with the production inputs as part of the program. In terms of the beneficiaries, we are now sitting at 2,184 beneficiaries that have been supported. Chair, in terms of the other areas, Chair, we've also provided pictures just to showcase some of the work that we've done throughout the districts. But I'd hasten to indicate, Chair, maybe one omission we made was to also reflect on areas where there was poor performance in terms of the planting. The pictures are all just showing a rosy picture, but there are areas where when we started the program, areas were flooded, so we could not be able to continue with the program in those areas, and those are the pictures which are not part of these slides. And I think we could have given the members a clearer picture if we included them, and apologies for that. We also have, in terms of our marketing plan, and I've moved to slide 35, in terms of our marketing plan, Chair, we are now preparing this program as part of our agri-hubs initiative. So then on agri-hubs to the establishment of silos, and our mechanization program in terms of its implementation in the future will then change shape so that we align it with the implementation of the agri-hubs. But RASET for now becomes the anchor in terms of supporting farmers to access markets, and we continue developing that. As a speak, Chair, we have a new partnership that will be probably unveiling soon with the Department of Defense, where we will be signing off with them in terms of a memorandum of understanding for them to be able to take some of the produce from farmers to feed or to enroll it in terms of their feeding programs within the Army. Chair, in terms of the challenges that we've had in implementing the project, production inputs have been quite a problem for us, not just for the department, but for all farmers in general. If you take, for example, fuel and fertilizer, they've increased exponentially in terms of their cost. A bag of fertilizer 3-4 years ago was around 400-300 rand, but now it's very close to 1,000 rand just one bag. So it's just to show the difficulties that we are faced with the limited money that we have. So the money that we used to have is unable to reach as many farmers anymore. Also, Chair, on the demand for the service, it's quite huge, and the government alone really cannot be able to satisfy the demand out there. The 23 or 22,000 hectares that were planned, these are being over 200,000 hectares of arable land purely in the communal space alone. Just shows the magnitude of the requirement out there. There has also been issues of heavy rains, which we suffered, and that's why I was saying we should have included those pictures, Chair, because it's one of the challenges, and issues of climate change that we're continuing to see manifesting itself in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, Chair. Chair, with that said, this will be our recommendation that the portfolio committee notes and is appraised of our planting season and our performance to date as contained in this report, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Acting HOD. Members, the report is for noting, and I think it's fitting for me to acknowledge the report and declare it as having been presented and noted by the committee. Are we in agreement? Members? I'm following what is in the dictator and I say, Honorable Responsi.
Noted, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. I thought you were asleep. I'm glad to hear your voice.
No, I'm always awake, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. This then concludes the departmental matters. What usually happens is that the chair will dismiss you. But I'm going to do things differently. We are not going to take long. Let's go to committee matters because we just need to adopt meeting minutes of the 23rd of September. Members, if you were to open your gadgets, can you upload the 23rd of September, year 22? This thing, you're meeting yes, the Lazarus pool. And sometimes I can see even on this minutes, Honorable Mapimela is repeated twice. And kuno mhlonishwa wayekhona orabe ongasekho angasekho emhlabeni angasekho ecommentini uyaphi. Yes, Honorable TJ Kumete was present. Are you winning, brother? Thank you. Honorable Makosi Zungu, you were also part of the meeting. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I think this thing must stop. You can't be dealing in March. You are dealing with the minutes of September. It's just not fair. Let's go. Page 1. Honorable MP Zuma was a member. But the calendar legislature, we are very big to do with this thing. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Five. And the last. Can I get a move on the second half of the minutes? Honorable who proposes. Honorable Kumete seconds. Thank you. Let's go to the second sentence. Which is the minutes of the 14th of October. Researcher unegqobo ukuthi samuhuka angazi iqala ukuthi Bishop ozosichazela. Page 1. Yeah. Page 2. Three. Umsimanga sanibekile emkomeni. Page 4. Five on the update on anything material state and thing where mark. And the last one, page 7. Can I get him over and the second one? Oral speaker, you are part of this meeting. Yes, you. Honorable Kumete Moss. Now I'm chairing, yeah, even though I was not chairing, but I can't second. But I was not chairing that day. Orange Bansi, were you part of this meeting?
I'm just trying to check, Honorable Chair. I went too fast with the top section, so I couldn't see it.
Honorable Teresa,
I can't remember Stalo, but I can second if I was present, but I'm not sure.
you were present in Yakubu.
Oh, I second Stalo.
Yeah, kulungile ke lonke kaDumo omkhulu. Siyabonga, siyabonga. Siyabonga. Let's go to now in stakeholder engagements. Was it on the same day?
No.
Huh? Yeah, I remember they were there, yeah.
It was the two and one, the three and one meeting.
Yeah.
We engaged the stakeholder.
Yes.
And then we went for the oversight in the funds, if I recall.
No, that was not the one. So it means we can't then adopt twice. One adoption is sufficient. Okay. Thank you very much. Bob, can we get an update on this study talk? Stakeholder engagement on your own. Yes, yes. What was this anyway? I was not here. I meant to be, I remember I was not here. Honorable members, can I get a moment in a second? Honorable Zungu moves, Honorable Mavimbela seconds. The stakeholder engagement report of the 7th of December, year 2022. Study to update. Is there any update on this? Yeah.
Mr. Paul, as honorable members of know, what's what a request to go to. Malaysia and Singapore, of which because we submitted requests last year, October, but they were delays, and we were then asked to resubmit our request with dates amasha, taking into consideration Singapore and Malaysia, but say holiday Ramadan. So we've sent those, and we've also sent our request for additional 3 countries, just in case the Sheshebes accept Abona, whilst we are waiting for Singapore and Malaysia to accept the new dates. Those countries are Seychelles, it's France, and it's Germany. But on the side, that's for the 3 portfolio committed together. But on the side, as that the Stalo has requested that I do research on other countries that are good in both tea production and aquaculture, of which again, so we see parallel, so we see Punelama Gates, so agriculture, whilst also being in an alliance with the other 2 portfolio committees, and then see which one is accepted first. So I'm still busy with that research. I was still looking at Kenya, because Kenya is based in tea production and in aquaculture when it comes to African countries. So far, it updates in Uganda.
That's an update that is not an update. If you want to add.
Staff, something also with a coffee or bush or the legislature calendar is allocated, like agriculture is allocated to bonds that are made. So whatever we do,
njengamanje we need to push for ukuthi by May because it was a stage time.
No, what to study campaign? Yeah. There has been as slowly as
Sorry, Stalo.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I just check, Uti, if she says it's going in June, does it mean if we get confirmation before June, we can't go?
No, it doesn't mean so, Stalo. It doesn't mean so.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Honorable Shamin?
Yeah, Honorable Chair, I was just also thinking that we have to consider weather patterns in the different countries, because like for agriculture, for example, we have to try to avoid going to some place if it's midwinter. You know, you rather go in the summer months in a way, but I think that we just got to worry about also the weather wherever we be moving to or settle on. Because as time is going by, the weather, you know, we're thinking of other countries and the weather may have been better at that time, and then now we're moving to another side of the globe and the weather changes. So I think we have to be cognizant of that too.
Thank you. I'm sure you don't wish to go to Switzerland these days. I heard it, I'm telling you. No, I think the team will take note of that, honorable members. Honorable Mangfela.
Seem to forget the internal processes. It does an emphasis, Chair. When we are having this benchmarking at TOS, we seem to forget the internal processes that we need to follow. And when you allocated May and now we have been not yet finalized, and take into consideration the internal processes that you need to follow, because it's supposed to be starting your logistical processes 2 months before the trip. So it's April right now, so May is just around the corner. So it's just emphasis that I want to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the honorable members, having consulted, there is a humble request that we do an AOP tomorrow at 6 as well. We deal with the first part, then we deal with the AOP. I haven't read it, I must admit myself. I was going to be under the bus to go through an AOP that I haven't read, so I need to give myself time to read the AOP tonight, so that tomorrow evening we deal with it. Is that fine? Thank you. It means we will then move the last item on the AOP to tomorrow. Now, so we have 2 items left, which is lunch and this what oversight. Kuthiwa siyobheka ogandaganda lapho ukuthi bakhona. Where are we going, Ejodi?
I'll request the team to process because it's here in
Okay.
Greetings, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. I'm not sure if they have to like a place where we've done a mechanism which is close to where we'll be having this meeting, and they will identify the places. Don't throw away place. It's about 15 kilometers or so. It's big. And as we're driving to Texas,
you said it's a stone's throw. You know what it's throw? And they throw it back. And 15 kilometers. Hi. But one more would you in the post or indoor Sugena, you shall 15 kilometers. I will submit that as note. Yeah. Ngiwariti nje ukuthi mangase singayi koyibona le ndawo ungafunda kana sikuyisarrange nje kukude kahle and sasa. Members, are you okay with to see it up? direction lesihlangane esikhamba ngayo noma on the other side.
Mawuphuma njena uhamba ngendlela odlula la ube ngathi uyi-high plains. I-Texas Valley yebo.
Yeah, Jim Zindo.
Yebo.
Okay, no, it's fine. It means so. Choose the instances to get some bounces. Yeah. Yeah. So go into it. Yeah. No.
This is a kind of
Yes. I don't really say more.
Chair, I feel obliged to, because I've been part of this committee's meeting and the departmental delegation as well. Now, I feel obliged to now request that I be excused from the committee visit. I had not planned for it. I think it was because I understood that it's just a committee function. It may be a mistake on my part, but I have another engagement now.
Yeah, most welcome again.
Thank you.
Yeah, most welcome, no problem. I try to work on the helicopter and send out a back. Man, getting out, so shy that all the way. So I forgot to spend the money. Ukuthi kube khona siyakuthakasela kakhulu kwakhona kwakho siyabonga.
No, ubuza leyo nto yokuthi ngibe selfish ngamshiye. Ngisaba sobabili.
Ngemoto yodwa.
No. Ilasi yakho.
Kulungile uzokufika ngoba akwazi ukuhamba engakhulumile nami lo obuya ngikwena.
Akunankinga-ke lapho. Ngeke impela ngene.
Bakithi asivumelane nokuthi umhlangano wethu ukuthi ufike esiphethweni sizocela nje sibambe ukudla la bese kuthi ngehora lesibili bese siyahamba-ke siye kobona lo bekuthiwe sizobona sivele siwudede nomcimbi wethu. Bakithi ngingelutho ngicela ukusibongela ngibongene egameni likaSihlalo umhlangano wethu wabe kahle. Ngicabanga ukuthi siphathane kahle bakithi uma ukuthi khona la sithe ukuqinisa khona bakithi phela yisezweni. Ilanga bakithi liyaguquka kuye kubande kuye kushise asamukele nje ukuthi i-weather ikhona izoba nezinto nendlela nje bakithi ayaba khona ama-potholes avalwa kuphinde abe khona. So uhambo lokuphila lunjalo siyabonga kakhulu engathi uNkulunkulu angangigcina enisayo ngene endleleni lize nifike la niyakhona niphephile siyabonga.
Thank you, Chair.
Hello.
Thank you, Chair.
Wesihlalo sizoya-ke la ukade uthe singayikhona. Yeah, with context. Why not at the end?
Neighbor. Why are you neighbor? Oh, neighbor that I don't even see. I need to, and yeah, I'm